Hello, welcome to the second part of the second PAL 19 compendium. In this one I still have my no gravity game and the board I can draw setups on. We are going to take a look into typical burn setups and then stacking for Tetris's strategies. Let's start with the burn setups. As you may already know, the very basic and most likely the most important burn setup burn pattern on PAL 19 is the 3 high left, 3 high second column. What's the idea behind it? Basically, as this is 3 high, long bar can't go over this all the way to the left because it would stop here on the second column. The same for J, the same for T, the same for Z. O doesn't go over it at all. The same with S. So the only piece we can put all the way to the left in this case is the L piece. L piece can go very high to the left. It goes over 6 high. So even here we can put it over and burn using this one and only particular piece. Let's try to make this board more real. And quite easy. This would be the perfect start. So, when the strategy is very simple, we are waiting for the L, kind of no matter what, because it's the only piece we can bring ourselves this line lower. And once we get it, let's say we had a setup like this. Once we get it, those two lines are burnt, and we are back on 2 high on the left. So now we can put Lombard in here, or J in here, or another L, which is also fine, but not needed anymore. How are we going to set up for the L when it finally comes? As you may already saw a moment before, once the L comes, we still need to fill all over the space. So the perfect setup, kind of perfect setup, would be a board like this. This isn't necessarily true though, because without these pieces, these 5 points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, sorry, 6 pieces, 6 points, you get 1.5 pieces more to wait for this L. So for example, in this case, you have all this space here, basically, while if there was already something like this, you have 2 pieces less to wait for the L. So technically, it's far worse, because 2 pieces is quite a lot when you are all dependent on the one piece. Going by this logic, it may turn out that the perfect setup would look like this, which is kind of true. The more space we have, the higher the chance we get the L to the left is, so the higher chance to survive at all is as well. But in reality, such a setup is nearly impossible. Once we have this 3 high left, we usually have something more than this. Very often it's all filled actually, which comes from the way this setup is created is very often due to some hang on the left, I mean not bringing the piece all the way to the left, which leaves, for example, if we had something like this, both like this, let's say, and we wanted to bring L in here, but we failed and it's stuck here, then it's very unlikely to get something here. It's still better and kind of yet better because the L goes here, but in order to understand the whole idea, there are also a lot of setups where we just don't have this kind of space accessible on the right. So we are going to start with this field, and then we are going to go into those more real setups where everything's mixed, because once you mess something up, most likely it's much trickier than just this. Most likely there are going to be some holes as well in the middle, or something already very high. Such a quick board is just to show you the idea. Let's fill this, and we are waiting for the L. Once it comes, we always put it here because it's pretty high. It's the only piece which can go to the right. And how to do it? We are waiting, just trying to utilize all the pieces we get using the space on the right. Let's say we get an O, we get an S, we get Z, we get another S, we get T, whatever. That's just random, just the piece that came to my mind. And here we are with another possibility, which is also very worth setting up. As you may see, now this is 6 wide and this is 4 wide, so you get a long bar. So if you get a long bar, we can burn it flat in here. That's why once we are in this setup and the L piece doesn't come, of course, we are going to try to build it in a way that here we have a 3 wide, and then once we already caught this proper height, we are going to try to set up 4 wide here so that we can burn the long bars in here. The idea is pretty simple, as you see. Just set 3 wide here and the 4 wide here, and in reality, yes, that's it. If you want to keep the well strictly opened, that would be pretty much everything about it. But reality isn't that simple. Very often we can exceed our chances by using some kind of sacrifices. I don't know if sacrifice is the proper name to that, to this thing, as it's just trying to survive. You don't really sacrifice anything, just try to survive no matter what at the end of the day. Using OPs like this or J like this, which gives you some opportunities. And why is it good? Why not? Why wouldn't it be the best to just wait for this piece, for this L by false, just keeping the lombas, keeping everything open? As I already told, the whole thing comes down to the space you have for waiting for the piece. If you had unlimited space on the right, the L would just come at some point. There would be no problem. The problem is it's kind of likely the L doesn't come on time. I mean, you are going to run out of the space you have on the right before the piece comes. That's why we can try to exceed it. Like in the board like this, all of this space is kind of waste. It would be much better to have a board like this. That's why if we have quite some things filled in here, we can try to get an O in here and then wait for S here, because now we have some burns. We have multiple burns, just such as S here, Z here. T here doesn't work. This is very important, because once you put the T here, you are going to find yourself in this kind of setup. You are going to take a look into this a few minutes later, but the basic idea is that now you can't bring this L all the way to the left. So you are going to have to either make it higher or wait for an O, which makes everything way more complicated. But let's say we had this O here. There are a lot of burns. Even such a burn, such a J burn may work. In some cases, you can extend it with another O, which would be perfect. And in this perfect case scenario, what happens? we bring this O here, and we get this Z right on the spot, and what? This is all erased, and suddenly we have basically 3 pieces of space more here on the right. We had this, this, now we have this. So doing this burn, we gave ourselves 2-3 more pieces to wait, and we, in reality, we kind of can stay in the circle as long as we want to, because it's PAL 19. We have absolutely unlimited time to play. As long as we survive, it's all fine. That was this perfect case scenario. Now what if we don't guess this perfect case scenario? There are still a lot of possibilities. Of course, it's impossible to list all of them. That wouldn't make any sense. It's all about understanding the basic idea behind it, then going through the setup a few thousand times in real games, and you will know it. If you are already on the level when you don't misrep anything, don't misrep too much, it's gonna be very easy to get familiar with it and use it pretty successfully in your real games. Let's say we get another O. Now we are here, and in reality, this setup is much better than just the single O. 2 O's are much better, because here there was only this one piece which is fine. T wasn't good. Other ones are very tricky and require some serious management. For example, after S like this, now the only good piece is J now, so we need J first, then O. O here would be very good now, but then still you need the J into here. It's getting very complicated. That's why if you got this O, another O is great, because now you can put lumbar in here, you can put Z in here, you can put S in here still, you can put tipis in here, and it's all fine, because you don't get this point. This point is still empty, and that's all you need. If this point was filled, even if you cleared these lines, that it doesn't matter how really. Find yourself with this piece, with this point back, blocking you from this L. So, yeah, it is that simple. All you need to do is try to not make this higher than your first 2 columns. It's gonna work just fine. Just keeping this and this empty. That's all you need. Now you try to exit. You use the space, you failed, put an O. Finally, you are going to burn out of this. Let's say you get some real setup. For example, this and this, and now you burn. Oh, was it real? Wait. Something's wrong. Let's try once again. I messed something up with the number of points, I believe. Of course, this setup was impossible. Never mind. It doesn't matter. Actually, let's say this point was empty as well, and we would get the same thing. But let's follow the theoretical stuff as strictly as we can for now. So yeah, we got this all in here, and get, let's, for example, this here, and I don't know, let's say it's already here. So now you get another chance. You try to fill it up once again. You don't get the pieces. Let's say you get J into here, and then S like this, and then another O, so it goes here once again. Let's say now you got this L, but doesn't really matter. Another O, T here. Let's just give ourselves the perfect pieces. Doesn't really matter, just to show the idea. And now you are found open once again, so you're exceeding this time over and over again. Finally, if you don't top out, you are going to get the L at the moment when it's open. So you can finally put it here. And then once you put it here, you just open it normally, following the basics. You still have enough space to play without these two bottom rows. At some point we are going to get these good pieces, and then the left is accessible for J, for Lomba, for T. This is also quite a good ban, and technically for Z, but Z doesn't really help, because after the Z you would have to burn. You are going to find yourself back in the too high setup. So after this and this, it's still too high, but it's fine, because once again, this time you exceeded your time. You can wait for the pieces that are going to bring it lower. Now you can get Lomba, you can get the J, you can get T, so it all works fine. And you got points for those two bands. With absolutely unlimited time, everything's alright. Okay, now as I have already explained how this setup is to work, let's try to set it up in a real game and try to, I mean, in a real, well, in no gravity game, but with real RNG, and let's try to see how we can deal with that. I'm gonna try to set something simple for the first one. So now I won't play like strictly DAS, just wanna set up this 3 high. Okay, here we have it. What are we going to do? This is pretty real setup actually. Something like this. If you are to find yourself in this 3 high setup, something like this, exactly like this, is quite likely. Of course, it's like 1 in, I don't know, 200 chance to get something like this, but compared to all the possible setups, this one is still one of the more likely ones. What we are going to do? Now we try to put ourselves in a situation when this is filled, this point is filled, and this point is empty, and this is filled. So we are going to try to fill this space while waiting for the L to the left. If you get the L, we'll always put it here. In this case, it's a little bit better than the examples I showed a moment before, because we have a little bit more space here and here. We have like 1.5 pieces of the space more than them. So let's try. This T is obvious. This Lomba is obvious as well. This one is obvious as well. They are the only possibilities. Here we have it. That's all we can do for now. And now we have the first decision. We can either put this O immediately to the left, trying to get another chance, or wait a little bit and put the O here. I have no idea which is better objectively. Normally, O in this situation would be better to the left, but this would create this quite terrible setup when this is all perfect, this is all perfect, and this is all perfect. While the very right isn't even that accessible anymore. The space has been already used. So let's say we don't want to get tricky, we just try to get the L no matter what. Okay, now this one has to go here. We didn't have anything else to do. And yeah, very often it's going to be just impossible to survive Here we get a little bit lucky, so we now exceed it, and finally we get the L here. Using this J, I set up this pattern when we have L perfect and lumbar perfect left. We get it, and now this J, this T goes all the way to the left because it doesn't have better spot. And by the way, it would be pretty okay here anyways, even if because it brings everything lower, and we are getting back to clean board. Okay, let's set up another one. Okay, here we have it. Another straight 3 high left here. What we are going to do now, we are going to wait for the L just as we did, but in this case we have kind of better right than we had. It's very good basics. It's a very good basis, very good foundation for the right, and we have quite a lot of space in the middle, which is pretty nice space because this is too wide. This gives some stacking opportunities. This should be pretty good. Okay, we got the that quickly, so we would of course just put it here. But we are now trying to, I'm trying to explain how it works. So let's say we didn't get this L. I mean, let's say we got this L and we put it here and burned out of this. Now let's see what would happen if this wasn't an L and we find ourselves in this situation. You can assume this is just a brand new one. Also, very possible in a game. This J has to go here. It could go here technically, but it would create this huge wall, which we definitely want to avoid when we want to use the whole space we have on the right. Now, when we want to maximize the space we can use, we want to keep everything as one as possible, not splitting anything, trying to keep everything as one part. This doesn't anything, so we go here, and here with this O we can put it here, and we also can put it on to the left. And this is one of another very important things. When you have something like this here, it's going to be kind of difficult to burn out of even after this L, because after this L we would have another LJ dependency here. That's why if we don't get a lumbar in here, lumbar is a perfect piece in here. Maybe let's draw it because it's getting quite complicated, I see. Okay. This setup, even if we get this L in here, it's still quite complicated because we need another one here. We don't have too much space on the right because it's most likely going to be used while waiting for the L to the left already. So in this kind of situation, having this here, if you get a lumbar, you just put it here in order to have this very high L opportunities. And then we are going to try to set up this flat lumbars just over it. So in this case, just here. Let's try to fill this and get into something like this. Of course, if possible, we want to avoid that in a way that we would just burn out of this area. For example, using an opis, just as we are now going to do. So the opis goes all the way to the left, and we're trying to utilize all of those lines in order to bring ourselves once again into those the same open 3 high left setup, but this time with a little bit more space on the right. Okay, this has to go here, and now we got another O, and there's no rush. We have unlimited time, so this O follows here all the way to the left. Don't try to rush it. we put it here, so that there is also a chance that we would burn these 3 points immediately, which is quite big of a deal, because in the worst case it is going to be half of a piece more when waiting for the L to the left. Let's do it. Let's see what happens. Okay, we are just burning. This T doesn't go here. This is very important. Yeah, I'm gonna show it once again. Where's the board? Here's the board. This one. How is it? We have this on the right, this here, and this here. The T cannot go here, because if we put it here, even if we fill the right perfectly, let's say this way. Oh, sorry, this is still here. What happens? We don't have the left accessible. I wouldn't fit in here. And this is very difficult to survive. We are going to get a deeper look into this once we finish with the typical, the simple L to the left burn setup. This doesn't go here due to this, so it goes here, and we get another. Also, it's just continue on the left. It didn't have a perfect spot anywhere else, so it went there. This one has one, so it goes here. This one has one again, and this doesn't suit anywhere else, so it also continues on the left. This is another extension. As I said, O works and J works as well. We put it here in order to make it flat for the L once we open it. This goes to the left, and once again, no rush. Then this thing goes here, so that once we open it, we are already in this perfect L setup in here. This goes to the right because it's possible. This has to go here, and look what we found ourselves with in quite perfect setup. Not far from perfect space-wise, but the left is perfect for everything, especially after this. Now we also have the lumbar burn setup in here. Unfortunately, we kind of run out of the space on the right in the process, but you can't do anything about it in reality. Okay, here, let's hope we put it here, because in the middle, because after this we get this to the left in this particular case. But let's say we didn't know that, as we wouldn't in a real game. So we put this here, trying to do anything in order to exceed our chances. And unfortunately, we most likely have to burn with this. So now it's getting really miserable. There's pretty much nothing we can do anymore. Just hoping for a miracle on the left. Yeah, maybe it will happen. Yeah, it happened. That was a very lucky sequence. But on the other hand, it was all prepared properly beforehand. We got unlucky before, so we got lucky now. And we're back on the bottom. Okay, alright. That was this one. Let's try maybe one more. I'm just gonna set it up like this is not real 190 play. Okay, I just wanted to set up this 3 high lefts in a clean way. Okay, we'll have something like this. What do we have here? The right side is closed. It isn't accessible now. This is not optimal, to say the least. But we at least have this perfect 3 right on the left, so all we can do for now is stack in here, hope the L comes, and set up this this lumbar burn here now on the 6th on the 6th row. Let's try. Let's see what happens. We have to do it like this. Oh, and the L came, so I put it here. Now, patiently waiting another one just come, and we burn out of this. Okay, maybe one more, because this L came quite too early. Now it's not optimal prime 19 play. I'm just trying to set up this 3 high left. Okay, here we have it. This setup isn't real, really, because such a hole in the middle with such a dependency on the left, well, technically it is possible, but in practice it wouldn't be that likely. But then again, the ideas, the core is the same. So let's try to get out of this. We fill the middle and we try to do something on the left. Now we got really unlucky. We are going to have to put it here. And now we're waiting for an O piece, which is the only piece which can go here. We got it, so we have it, and now we can set up this left. There isn't really much we can do. All we can do is wait. Most likely this will stop here. Yeah, this is going to be game over. I'm not even sure if this is pole vault possible. I think it was, but if yes, it was very tight already. We somehow managed to get out of this, but in practice, most likely this would be game over. The technical twists, even if we stacked everything perfectly. Okay, maybe this is going to be the last one. Game, please give me the pieces I need. Okay, I'm just gonna set it up no matter what. Because it doesn't matter, let's not waste time on this. Oh, game really doesn't want me to set it up as I would like it. Beautiful maze drop. Can maze drop even in no gravity games. Okay, finally we will be able to set it up properly, I see. Now let's just bring it a little bit lower. Okay, here we have it. What do we have now? The right is also quite used already, the space already quite used. But we have quite a good setup here, and this isn't as bad as it seems at the end of the day. Just a little bit not enough of the space. But let's see what we can do. Fortunately, again, the only possible placement, this is the only possible one. Now we can't even burn here because it wouldn't burn. So all we can do is just wait for the piece to come. Hope and pray. Usually it does not always. That was pole vault. Yeah, this one isn't going to be possible to survive, I can already see. Unless we get like absolutely perfect pieces now. I don't think we will. That O couldn't even go all the way to the right because this is 7 high. Yeah, this is game over. But basically, that's it. That's the very that's the core of the 3 high left burning pattern. Now let's take a look what happens if we have a little bit more of the opportunities. I won't show it on the board, I'm just going to try to play another game. So how would we deal with that if for some reason we have pretty empty board and just the, oh, well, I can do it like this for now. Because I wanted to have the left accessible. Okay, now we have it. Let's say we didn't have this. No. Oh, actually, that's how I would draw it. What if we don't have such a filled middle and putting the L over here would create some kind of problems in other parts of the board. Actually, if we get an L piece in this particular case, and not even this particular case, just any position when you have this 4 high second column, when you get the L, it always goes here, as it's the only piece that can go here. So just this in itself means it has to go here, because it's the only piece that allows us to survive. That's why once we get this L, we put it here no matter what. That's the best thing we can do if we want to survive. Alright, as we know it, let's try to survive this situation. We are going to try to fill this, if possible, in a way that, yeah, once we get this L, it's going to be better to not have to get out of those sacrificed lines. But if we have to sacrifice them, we do it. We don't hesitate. That's the best thing we can do. Let's try the setup. This goes here, this goes here, and oh, we got this L. So now it's going to be way easier. This goes here with attack or with a spin. Yeah, let's not misdrop this one. Okay. We are back to high on the left. Can even put this here. Oh, game, what are you doing? This were some unlucky pieces, and we are going to be back to safety very, very soon. Okay, we got out of this, so let's try to set up another one. Okay, oh, this is perfect. We have something like this. What we are going to do, of course, we want to clear this line. Clearing this line is absolutely crucial in this kind of situations, because if we don't clear this line, even if we get the L in here, we are going to be back on 3 high here instead of 2 high, which we want to be at. Maybe I will draw it once again. And was it 3 high on the right? Yeah, it's 3 high. So we have a situation like this. Now we want, of course, wait for the L to the left, but we also have to burn this thing, because, for example, if we didn't burn this one, if something like this happened, even if we get this L to the left, and even if we clear these 2 lines, what happens? We are still in 3 high here, so I'm going to need another L all the way to the left. That's why we want to avoid it, and we are going to take care of clearing this bottom line as well. How are we going to deal with the whole board then? It's very simple. We don't care about the second and the third row for now. They are completely unimportant. Can sacrifice them entirely. We are just going to clear this line no matter what and get the L to the left. These 2 lines don't bother us. They don't bother us at all. Even if some kind of disaster was to happen there. For example, if we had to create something like this here, if we clear this line, let's try to bring it a bit lower. This is still way better than having to be 4 high in here. Now we can play without those two bottom lines. All that matters is getting this L. Once we get this L here, I mean, we are just simply going to play here, waiting for something, waiting for this L. We can completely ignore the two bottom lines. And once we finally get this L, we are going to burn these two rows. I mean, once they get filled, we're going to burn them. And now we can slowly, point by point, clear this line and then this line. For example, get something like S, like this, I don't know, this, this, this. There's absolutely unlimited time, so there's no rush. You're going to open it step by step, point by point. At some point, we will be able to do that. But if we had 4 high, we are going to take a look into it later. But if we had it now after the first L, we still need another one to put here. So it's a lot more complicated, because in this way we are like double piece dependent. Now if we manage to clear this line and get the once we manage to clear this line, it's only one piece dependent, so it's way better. Okay, we have managed to clear this line without even sacrificing the bottom rows, and now it isn't necessarily good to put the lumber in here, because we would get into that tricky setup I already showed. Oh, what did I do? It was here. Okay. If you get this lumber here, now we are again kind of tricky on the left. L here creates another dependency here. J dependency when we just had an L. That's why we are going to bring this L piece, this lumber, all the way to the right, so that it doesn't create any problems in the middle and on the left. Yeah, as I said, there is no problem with sacrificing the two bottom rows. All we want is this L to the left. We get it, we're lucky. Now, once again, no rush at all. Slowly open everything up, piece by piece, step by step, just in the way the game allows us. It's getting pretty tricky, but those are the pieces we got. Fortunately, we can't even bring this to the left, so we have to wait and hope something good happens. Yeah, that was quite a lucky setup, I have to say. I have to admit, we can't do too much about it. We can't have everything. And most likely it would go like this. It's unfortunate, but those are pretty much the only possible placements. Now we kind of find ourselves in this double dependency on the left. We are going to take a look into it once again. It just like it's pretty much the same, but just doubled. So that we need 2 S instead of 1. Okay, I've managed to get out of this. Now, what else we can talk about in terms of those very basic very basic cleaning setup, stacking down setups. Another one is this. What if we have something like this on the left? Now, L piece doesn't work. So what can we do to the left? O piece goes pretty high, so we can put an O piece in here, or we can put an S in this way to the left. And then once we clear this line, we are going to have this double L setup on the left. This double L setup, I mean 4 high, it's basically the same as 3 high, but way more difficult for many reasons. Not only do we need two L pieces instead of one, but also as it's a row higher, we have 2.5 less of the space, which is quite a big deal. As you may remember from the previous part, from the first part of the compendium, we have 15 pieces of the absolute space on the board. When we are down to 12.5, it's quite a massive difference, we have to say. It's like the whole line. It's massive difference in terms of such high cleanups. Of course, if that was a pure board, if we just were to play without the bottom line, it would be still fine. But in the long run, it makes a huge difference. Every line, every single row makes a huge difference in the long run. So in this case, we would burn exactly the same. Doesn't need any additional explanation, just everything is the same. L setup here, lomba setup here, flat lomba setup here. The only difference is it's one piece higher, and once we bend out of this, we are back into this classical 3 high one. So it's all fine. I mean, it isn't, but we already know what to do in this case. Okay, so let's go back to this situation. What if we have something like this? Now we want either O to the left or S. S transforms into regular 4 high. O piece is a little bit more tricky, but better, because using the O we can avoid the 4 high left. With S piece we can't avoid it, because already the S piece, this point is left empty. So this is going to be the 4th column no matter what. With O piece, there's a real, if not even good, chance to avoid it. Once we fill this, say we got such pieces. Okay, so what happens now? We are back in the regular 3 high setup. Here we're waiting for L. Once it comes, we are going to be able to bring it down using the same typical synthesis methods. Let's take a look how it would look like in real games. So I'm gonna try to set it up. It isn't going to be that simple necessarily. To set it up the way I want it. Oh, what did I do? I'm just trying to set it up. It's gonna work out at some point. Yeah, we are getting close. Of course, now it isn't regular 19, but me being kind of unable to set it up easily kind of shows how rare it is in reality. Setup doesn't happen that often. Okay, this one would be empty. We don't want the empty one. We want the full one. And I misdrop, of course. Well, the game really doesn't want me to show this stuff for some reason. Maybe it knows the rollers are gonna watch it as well. Okay, here we have it. So what are we going to do? Quite the same. Either O or S, and then we are going to hope something good happens. When we have this higher, we can also try to utilize L's and J's in here, doing those flat burns, like here, L like this, J like this, if possible. We are also going to try to set up this flat long burn to the left. But here we get this S piece, so let's put it on the right, to the left, and we are going to try to get out of this. Now it's all very tricky. It's very entry dependent. Finally get this L, and now we are setting up another one. Unfortunately, we have to follow it like this if we want to be safer. And this is what happens. We were on 3 high. We had to put this all to the left, and now suddenly we are on the 4 high once again, and there isn't too much we can do about it. This is just how the board geometry looks like. That's how it works. All we can do is hope we finally get the proper piece. Is it going to come this game? I don't think so. Yeah, the game is over. Okay. Let's try once again. Okay, here we have it. Absolutely perfect. Now, everything's the same, but in this case, we are going to have to take care only of the 3 highest for take care of the 3rd row and higher. The bottom 2 can be sacrificed entirely, just in the example I showed before. It doesn't matter what happens here, even if we get something like this in here. It's relatively fine. All that matters is removing this 1 point. This 1 point is all of the problem. If there was no this point, even in this case, it's all kind of easily survivable. But with this one, everything's way more complicated. So all we want to do is remove this 1 point. And the rest doesn't matter. But then again, it isn't like we sacrifice because we want. We sacrifice only when there's a need for it. Now there's no need, and we want to use this space as much as possible. So if possible, we are going to fill all of this. So I don't misdrop now. Okay, it looks like we would need to we would have to close it a bit, I mean sacrifice a little bit, but we got the O, so it goes to the left, is the only perfect piece to the left. And why didn't I put this S in here? The thing is, look how much space we have in here. Do you think is likely by any means not to get another S or O before filling the space? Yeah, it isn't. It's very, very likely we are going to get another S or O before running out of the space, and the S isn't the optimal piece in here. It's fine, but it brings us into this 4 high setup, while O piece gives a very good decent chance of bringing it back to the 3 high setup immediately. That's why I decided to wait a bit, which is very important, like strategical idea. Maybe not strategical, it's more like tactical. Yeah, this one will be tactical. It's a tactical idea, tactical move. When you are so likely to get one of the pieces you want, and one is by far superior than the other one, let's wait. Maybe the better one will come. While in the worst case, you are going to be put in a situation which you would be put in anyways. But in this way, the game forces you to. If you put it immediately, it would be you forcing yourself into this kind of situation. Now we have this, and we are going to try to slowly burn these 3 lines, leaving these 2 points empty, so that we have this flat left for the L. Oh, I misdropped it. Never mind, I wanted to tack it, but it's fine as well. We are just trying to survive. These bottom lines don't really matter, so we're trying to build around to not do anything stupid, taking care of the left, keeping it flat, not putting anything here. If we put something left, it must be flat here. And now, very important, this O must go here, because it's perfect. It brings us into this perfect 3 right setup on the left. Okay, here it goes, here and here. Let's wait a bit more. Now it's time to burn. Yeah, quite unlucky. We got the L. And now, very crucial thing, a very, very common mistake. Many players would put this L piece in here. Basically, it's a suicide. You don't do that. When you need the L to the left, you put it there no matter what. It's always the best to the left. Here we even have quite a decent chance for a Tetris setup. We could set up a Tetris. Wouldn't be that bad. Yeah, here we have to do this. Now we are in this kind of burn setup. It's quite similar to the L1. The only difference, all the perfect pieces and O piece, it's kind of is like I don't want to say analogous, but once you know the basics, you just follow the main principles, just trying to keep it as low as possible, as clean as possible, using the space and not making the holes higher. So it would work pretty much the same. Yeah, we have to do this, we have to do this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and the pieces are not going to come this time. Yeah, they didn't. And we are going to play a few more examples in a moment. But let's take a look into some other possibilities on the left. That was one of them. If we have this, if we need this O to the left, it's also possible. But yeah, everything is the same. In this kind of situation, all you can do is waiting for the O to the left. This is L, we already talked about it. But if we have something like this, we still have the S opportunity. But when doing it, you have to remember you are going to bring yourself into the L to the left burn pattern, but one row higher. Okay, let's try to play a few more no gravity games. Trying to set up as left as possible. Okay, let's do this. This is very tricky, very difficult to get out of, but given that much space on the right, perfectly possible. Maybe not perfectly, because it depends on the pieces, as everything we do. But yeah, there's quite a decent chance. What we are going to do, we really have to burn this very bottom line, as in the example we had before. And once we burn this line, or in the meantime, we are going to look for an O to the left. If O doesn't come, we can also put S. Then we will be in the 5 high L burn setup. Let's see what we can do. Here we sacrifice the two bottom lines. Doesn't matter, just burn. It was possible, so we burn the bottom line immediately. Now it is possible to put it here, but again, look how much space on the right we have. Let's wait one piece more. Maybe O is first. If we get another S, then it's going to, I mean another S before O, then it's going to be put here. Now, oh, this time we got the O, so it's looking pretty fine. Now this O goes here because it's the only perfect, it's by far the best piece to the right in this case. So it goes here, here, and now just we have to hope we get this. All right, this compared to what we had, this is really good. Believe me or not, but this is finding yourself in kind of Tetris setup, leftward Tetris setup with the L ready is relatively really fine compared to the disaster we could have had. Now, again, we are following and hoping we get something. If we do, it's great. If not, well, we couldn't do anything. This time we didn't. We were waiting for L, then we would need another L. There was nothing else we could do. Those setups are RNG dependent. You can't do anything about it. Oh, and another one. It's a great RNG. Yeah, it's a bit interesting. When you want to break something up intentionally, the good RNG is there. When you want to get out of something bad, it isn't there. RNG knows the game very well. Okay, stacks. We follow the same idea. Now we don't have to sacrifice anything on the bottom, so we try to fill it. If it was possible, so we are going to try to fill it more in a way of using the whole space than being clean afterwards. And to the left, always perfect. If we get an S, it can go here, but we are not going to put an S in here as long as we have quite open space on the right. If we don't have the space, it just burns transform into the LP's burn setup. Let's see what happens. Oh, we get an O. That's a very good sign. Now we are going to try to clean this as quickly as possible. Now we put this here so that we have this left prepared. Let's hope something good comes. Oh, would be great. Here's the O, and now very crucial, this goes here so that we have this perfect L setup here. Those are the only opportunities. Okay, this time we succeeded. One time it opens itself, the other time it doesn't. And I managed to set up such a board. Here we are going to do the same thing once again. If we have, as long as we have quite much space on the right, we wait for the O piece. If we start running out of the space, S is also fine. S goes here. S here. Now another S is going to come to the left now. Oh, I think I have forgotten to tell that T also works in this way in here. T works identically the same as S. That's why I wasn't telling it all the time. When I meant S, T was the same. Because yeah, just look, maybe I will show it. So I'm not sure if I if I have shown it. Sorry. This board is pretty good to present that. It doesn't matter if we get S or T. Both S and T finish in exactly the same board. If you get S, this gets removed. If you get T, this gets removed, but it's exactly the same thing. Okay, now we have to burn here. Now we are going to wait for the L. We get the long bar it's possible to burn with it, so we burn. Now we're setting up the perfect L shape of what would most likely be needed there. So we here and here. And now this goes here so that we set up this long bar burn in here. This has to go here. This goes here. Okay. This is, we don't put it here because we don't want to be on the 4 high if no need, and there is no need. So we are trying to work around it. The same with this. Now unfortunately we have to put it here. So yeah, we are going to have to wait for the O. That's the only thing we can do. And I'm not sure if it would even come over it. But yeah, even if it does, with this point, with such a right, it's game over anyways. So let's just finish those basic left, well, kind of opening the left patterns on this. Now, the other ones you can kind of figure out yourself, because the core is to just understand what pieces you can bring all the way to the left. Once you know it, and know like those very basic tricks, like not putting stupid T's on the left, which would make the setup after which you can't burn immediately. For example, if you get something like this, don't burn with T here. Don't put anything that would make it like this or like this. The rest would be kind of similar. Of course, there are thousands of possibilities. That doesn't even make sense to go through all of them. All you need to do is understand how the basic things work, and once you know them, it's going to be pretty simple to manage to work around with them. At some point you will feel that you know them very well. If you don't, that means you haven't played and watched mainly your own plane enough. This the thing you're watching right now, the compendium, is only to help you to try to possibly uh, help you see those basic patterns, basic setups, basic ideas. But in order to know them, you are going to be you are going to have to figure out them yourself. Maybe not necessarily by understanding, because as you see, when taught separately, when shown separately, they are pretty simple. It becomes very difficult when you have thousands, maybe not thousands, because this pattern 19 is very specific. In the whole nest Tetris, you would have thousands. Here, maybe more like hundreds of those kind of common setups you have to be able to deal with all the time, very quickly adjusting to them, and being like uh, very very smooth when trying to switch from one to another. There's also one tricky burn setup. This isn't to the left. I won't be able to set it up in the game. That's why I'm going to draw it, which is very difficult theory-wise and may cause a lot of problems when playing real game. This is a board which looks like this. Just like this, yeah. What's so difficult? As you may see, we have very low left, very low right. So the board structure is broken entirely. We want to have a board which goes lower and then higher, or at least only higher or only lower. Here, this already is kind of a spire, as for PAL 19 standards, and this is a very serious one actually. It's way more serious than it may seem. The thing is, the perfect pieces you can get in this case are two L's, one here and the second one here, which are of course extremely unlikely to get. Getting two L's in a row in a situation like this is like, I don't know, 1 in 300 chance, maybe even less. We can't even assume that. And if the sides aren't even that accessible, the things you can put cleanly on the left are only T. I mean besides else, of course, long bar, and technically Z, but Z isn't that good because it makes the second column 3 high, and this is exactly the same thing which is created here. So we have only two good pieces to the left besides the L, or maybe let's count with the L. We have three pieces to the left. To the right we have only L and the lomba, and that's it. So we have two pieces that fit to both left and right. Here lomba and L. Here L and lomba, and to the left is also fine. This is three pieces. Only three pieces have very good spots. What with the rest? J piece. What can you do with the J piece here? Well, if you didn't want to sacrifice any lines, put it here. Well, most likely yes. What with Z? Most likely this is the best placement anyways, because there's pretty much no other possibility. Where here, this is even worse. This is yet worse. What? Where here? There's a dependency. Here, there's a kind of dependency here. Stairway here. Tag setup here and spire here. This is terrible. What else? Oh, where here? Spire immediately. That's why if you have this kind of setup, the best thing you can do is sacrifice the bottom line immediately by default and sacrifice the second line if need be as well, and not hesitate with that. This bot is really disastrous, is extremely difficult to deal with. Very often completely misunderstood. I saw it most likely hundreds of times, both in my games and other players having a lot of problems when dealing with that. The best thing you can do is just work around, sacrifice the bottom line and the second one as well, if need be, and try to work around. So let's see what happens if you get like a few random pieces. I don't know. I'm going to play a game here, but just to get the random pieces. Okay, we get S first, Z first. What we can do with the Z? That's absolutely disastrous piece, by far the worst. We have to put it here, but isn't that bad? The bottom line is sacrificed by default, so if we fill this point and this point, which is very likely that we can fill them very cleanly, especially as here we have even more pieces now, because lomba, because L works here as well. Why would this field L wouldn't work here cleanly? So we have this Z here. The next is S. S goes here. The bottom line is sacrificed. Let's see what would be the next piece. Another S. It continues on the right. This is very good actually. This is a very good piece in here because it is going to give us more time to open the first column. Now we have this and this and this rows secured when trying to get something to the left after filling this point. I don't want to pause. Now we have O. O pretty obvious, it has to go here. Another one. Yet another S. Perfectly fine. We can stack S's very high on the left, on the right. Now lomba. Lomba, yeah, it can go here, it can burn. I think I would put it here in order not to make such a spires because the left wouldn't be too accessible after that. Yet another S. Okay, now it's getting kind of spam-ish. But deal with that. Finally, we get Z to ban. So we ban here. Let's try to bring it one row lower. Okay, here we have it. What's gonna be the next piece? Now T. T goes to the left. Lomba. Lomba needs to go here. J. J needs to go here. and it burns this line. Okay. Another lumber. It goes here because left it is impossible to bring all the way to the left, while here we would be still left with this double hole in here. So in this way we transform one of them into this one, which is very good. And also now we have a lot of burn possibilities here. Yet another lumber. This one's pretty obvious. Now O. O needs to go here. It's quite unlucky RNG, I have to admit. Finally S. Yeah, this S has to go here. It's the only possibility. J. J needs to go here. It's very unlucky RNG. Doesn't want me to show you how to deal with that. What is that? Another Z. Let's try to save it by force. What else can we do? Yeah, it really doesn't want us to save it. So let's try once again. Yeah, but just this shows how tricky, how difficult to deal with the setup is. Let's try once again. Okay, O then T. O goes here. This time we get the T to the left. So it's gonna be much easier. Then LJ. L goes here. J would go here. Then, so in this case, we got perfect pieces. We were lucky. Nothing to say more about this one. Okay, maybe let's continue. It's T then J. T goes here. J goes here. O, Z. O goes here. There's no rush. Z goes here. Lomba O. Lomba O. Yeah, that's quite likely that we are going to be left with such kind of setup on the left, because the left was so low compared to the right. I mean, compared to the middle, and we wanted to take care of the right as well. By the way, in this case, it wasn't really possible to put anything more there on the left. We have this lomba O. Now ZJ. Z needs to be put here. So this gets cleaned. Now we have J. J goes here. O lomba, J lomba, yeah, we can use this vertical burn all the time, not only in those burn situations I have shown, I showed before. S lomba, S goes here. Lomba goes here. Okay. Now the bolt is pretty safe actually, because both sides are secured, and this point makes it higher than this, so there should be no problems at all. But let's see what pieces the game decides to give. L then Z, L, Z. Lomba T, J, S, T lomba, yeah, we will simply run here with the T. Because now this isn't that tricky, because we have lomba and add opportunity immediately, and if not, we can continue the sacrifice, and here we have this 3 white, so it would be way too unlucky not to be able to open the very left with that. Either this bends or this and this gets filled, making it too high. So in the worst case scenario, we are going to back into the same kind of pattern as like 4 lines before. But we had a lomba as far as I remember, so it simply goes here. Now we are back to safety basically. It's, yeah, L, L, and S. Oh yeah, we are all fine now. Okay, so I think that's it in terms of those basic setups. So let's maybe go through the very basic ideas once again. The first thing, when you have something like this, we wait for S to the left, and we try to exceed our chances by doing this flat burn setup. If need be, we can put O's in here or J's in here, making it possible for another burn stroker so that we have more space on the right to wait for the proper pieces afterwards. And we always remember that when doing it, for example, if we did this burn, T, for example, can go here, because this point would make it yet worse than it was, which of course don't want. Okay, and in case of this setup, we have O first. O is perfect. We can also use S or T. They are the same. They work the same. But then again, if we do that, we try not to put anything here and here to keep it just playing on the cons 4 to 10, not first 3. First 3 are waiting for the good pieces to come. They aren't to contain the other pieces. And there's also one more thing. Again, what if you, because that stuff we talked about in this video so far was all about pure DAS. Now what if you can quick tap, which is very good, or you tap, which is very bad, or you roll, which is horrible and you should stop. Then you can exceed the limits for yourself. For example, when you have this kind of setup, then yeah, you will understand how difficult to survive it is. Very soon you will realize how difficult to survive this, and you are going to try to hit the quick taps here very often, even most likely more often than you would expect yourself to do when not being able to execute those pure DAS theoretical patterns. They all work, but they are extremely entry dependent, as you saw. On the other hand, they are the best we can do. So out of pure DAS, it's this or nothing. If we have like even 5% chance of surviving by following them, of course we take it. But 5% chance isn't much. And I think this one, in case of this one, and adding the practical game reality, I wouldn't think this is much more than 10% of atoms survived with pure DAS, of course. While with one lumbar quick tap, if you quick tap the lumbar here, suddenly everything's clear. And you know what, you don't even have to care about DAS because you have so much space in the middle, on the right, and you are going to regain it. I don't even have to comment the same thing for tappers and rollers. They know how high they can go, or they should know at least. And do they know? That's more difficult. But there's one very important thing. As I said in the previous video, the 4 high quick tap is very difficult. So when you have something like this, it's very good to know this waiting for L to the left setup, this pattern very well, so that in this kind of situation you can very often avoid this single quick tap, this 4 frame perfect quick tap, by just waiting for the L and leaving yourself this quick tap just as the last thing you will do, when really you can't, everything else is impossible. This is going to be the last thing. Of course, you can also kind of adjust the whole ideas, the whole strategy when playing with quick taps. Then most likely you would restrain yourself from covering the well that easily. For example, in this kind of situation, you wouldn't put the O here immediately when having the quick tap possibilities. Then you would put this O piece simply in here. in order to keep the wall open, having this quick tap opportunities. But then again, it's very important to know this stuff, so that if for some reason you can't do quick taps or it's yet higher, then this all can go here like this, and it all works fine. Just exceeding your chances. Alright, I think that's it in terms of typical burn setups, typical burn patterns. I wanted to do stacking for Tetrises theory in this video, but well, once again it's become quite too long for one, so let's leave it for the next one. Yeah, I wanted to do all this stuff in one video, and it turns out there are going to be 3. Who would have expected that? I didn't. Never mind. Some rollers did. Yeah. So that's it for now. See you in part 3 when we are going to take a look into intentional stacking for Tetris stuff. Once again with the no gravity run and this beautiful board when I can draw things for you. Thanks, bye.